channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Now in today's video I will be reviewing a watch from Baltany. Now this is the first time I have featured this watch on the channel. In the top left corner you should see a paid promotion. That's because this watch was sent in to me by the Octopus, Kraken AliExpress store. And you know, if you are in the market for a field watch, a vintage inspired military field watch or a pilot watch, then I suggest you definitely check out this brand. They have been causing quite a bit of a stir on AliExpress. There have been quite a few reviews out there about these watches as well, and I think they are a very affordable, budget friendly watch out there with some really vintage military style aesthetics. And I always like to look at brands that do have their own niche, even though if it's homages, it's always good to have a bit of a specialty. So the watch I have with me is the Dirty Dozen inspired military style field watch. Now this was sent in to me. I've had it here for quite a few weeks, but I've just been busy and haven't got around to it. On wrist today I am wearing my Casio G-Shock DW5600. So first of all, let's start off with the specifications, dimensions, and I'll give you the price of this watch. Now the watch case is stainless steel. It does have a screw down crown and a screw down case back, which gives you a water resistance rating of 100 meters. Now the watch also has a domed top hat style sapphire crystal, and it runs a automatic movement, which is the Seagull ST1701. Now there isn't a lot of information out there on this movement. However, it is very similar to the Seiko NH35. It does hack and hand wind. It comes with a sub dial at 6 for a small seconds hand. I think it is maybe 23 joules, but I could be wrong. But I will be putting this on the time grapher to see how accurate this watch is performing. Now dimensions wise, you are looking at a 36mm case diameter. You are looking at a lug to lug of 43mm and a overall thickness of 13mm. Now it's worth mentioning, with the NATO strap supplied, the watch thickness increases to 15mm. You do have an 18mm lug width, and the overall weight with the supplied NATO strap is around 65 grams. Now the watch is priced at around £120 or around $165, depending on what option you go for, the leather strap or the NATO strap. And I think that is quite a reasonable price considering the build quality that you have and the specifications and an automatic movement. So let's take a closer look at the dial, and you will find the dial is a very simple setup, which is what you'd expect with this type of watch. Now the watch is furnished with completely printed features. Let's start off with the white track and the white hour markers against that matte black background. So the numerals are all in white, and at the 5-minute interval markers you've got these dots, batons, etc., which are in that cream color or old radium style loom. You've got the logo just below the 12 with the arrow just beneath it. Your sub dial is also white, clearly printed, showing all the second markers and the elongated 5-second markers. The handset used on this watch is a cathedralized handset. Now I am partial to cathedral hands, however these are polished, and I'm not too sure if these are the best finish for this style of watch. I would have preferred brushed hands because they would have matched the case as well, and I think they would be better at catching more light and being even more visible. The thing with these hands, they are actually really well polished and they're finely done, but they just kind of disappear at certain angles of the light, even though you can still see the loom, which does keep that visibility, but you know, the outline of the hands aren't visible under certain lighting conditions. Had that been brushed, I think it would have been able to reflect the light more evenly and therefore increasing that legibility of the hands. Overall, a very simple and effective dial. Now this dial, it apparently has some really good loom as well, so I'm really interested in seeing how that looks. Now going into the Loom Shot, bear in mind this is under normal studio lighting conditions. The loom is somewhat respectable. The BGW9 applied and the hour markers is slightly duller than the C3 or the old radium loom applied to the hands and the markers at the 5-minute intervals. Now when we do give it a little boost from direct UV exposure, they do brighten up quite a bit, but the markers in BGW9 still remain quite dull. Yeah, I mean, anytime watchmakers produce this illuminated applied hour markers, they need to be conscious that they need to apply enough loom or enough layers just to make it really stand out. We've seen really expensive watches from AliExpress totally fail on the Loom Shot because there's just not enough layers of loom applied to the dial to make them effective. So I think for this watch, it's okay, it is decent, it's not the best. In fact, the steel dive that I reviewed was a lot better. but it is pleasing to look at. You know, the combination of BGW9 and the C3 on the markers and hands does give it a pleasant look. Okay, moving on to the case and the sapphire glass. I really like that they went for this double dome sapphire glass. You know, you got added protection obviously, but aside from the functional benefits that a sapphire gives you, it gives you really good pleasing aesthetics as well. I think a domed crystal gives the watch just a nicer, more vintage profile as well. You know, a lot of watchmakers do use acrylic crystals, but you know, they're not practical because you really need to polish them out soon enough. Now the case finish is a one sort of tone finish. I believe this has been sandblasted, so you don't get any differences in polishing or brushing, etc. Just one finish all the way around the case. So there's nothing much to say on that. The case is built quite well. You know, there's no sharp edges, very clean lines to the case. I would have liked to see some brushing possibly. It would have added to the watch's character, but I get it's trying to be a super tool watch. The crown itself unsigned, and it does screw down. And this is the winding of the movement. I'll show you the watch does hack as well. So apologies, the watch doesn't hack. I mentioned it hacked before, but you know, that's my mistake. It actually doesn't hack. Now the case back is a normal case back, totally sterile, no branding, no specifications, etc. Now I know some reviewers take points away from watches for this. It doesn't actually really bother me, especially if it is from AliExpress. I think the value add in signed crowns and signed case backs unfortunately does tie itself to a brand. You know, if it's, I don't know, Breitling, Omega, Seiko, right? When you get different models from Seiko, they put the S crown and they add the signage. I think that's what maybe adds value. But you know, on watches which really don't have any brand recognition, I don't really care for signed crowns or case backs, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, so the strap supplied is just a normal single pass NATO. Yeah, and I think this watch, again, it is going to be very versatile, absolute strap monster. They sell this in the leather strap, which I don't think it looks that nice in, but you know, each to their own. It might look good on a bond strap as well. And yeah, just a whole range of straps to use with this watch. So let's get this on wrist, let's see how it looks and feels. So here's the Baltany Tuxedo military watch on my 6.5 inch wrist. As you can probably guess, with the dimensions that this watch has, it is going to fit my wrist pretty well. And the NATO, even though I'm not a fan of them, I think they are suited to this watch particularly well. And it does a good job of securing this watch to your wrist. Now this watch does sit at 15mm thick, including that NATO, which isn't too bad. It doesn't really stand out on the wrist. I do like that dome sapphire crystal present. It gives it a really nice depth to the dial. And yeah, it's very simple, it's very effective. So if you do want a military inspired field watch, something retro to wear, then Baltany are definitely the brand to go for. As I mentioned at the start of the video, check out the Octopus Kraken store. They've got a load of Baltany watches on there to suit various tastes. So that's it for me today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video.